Hey, it's Chobe National. We are in Botswana and this is a review of Elephant Sands campsite. The site's about 50 kilometers from Nata, 250 kilometers from Francistown on the Francistown Kasane Vic Falls main road. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I've got a full walkthrough of the campsite and give us some comments, some feedback on that and whether you find that helpful. Elephant Sands on the main road between Kasane and Francistown. We came here via Francistown. It's all tar road to get here. The roads are in relatively good condition, although there are some quite potholed sections where you've got to go quite slow. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to get here. It's a little bit slow driving in Botswana in general because of the vet fences and the rapid changes in speed limits and so on, but fairly easy to get here. Once you get to the gate off the tar road, you're onto a dirt road, not very long, couple of kilometers maybe, easily navigable by most cars, and you can do that with a sedan as well, just with a sensible amount of clearance though. There are numerous vehicles on the site with trailers and you can easily access the site with the caravan as well, so it's fairly easy to get to Elephant Sands. The dirt road from the highway to the site is relatively short. It's a couple of kilometers long, maybe. It's an easy drive, not difficult to navigate, no tight corners. In some areas it's a little bit sandy, but nothing to be too concerned about. There's no electricity at the campsites, so make sure that you are prepared for that. There are ablutions with showers and toilets and basins and the usual amenities you'd expect. There is hot water as well as cold water. The hot water is warm at best. We haven't had any real hot water in the showers. Doesn't really matter though, because this is a really warm area and at the time we're here it's quite humid as well because we're in here in the middle of the rainy season, so we haven't missed the hot water. That's at the main set of ablutions that has a thatched roof over it. There is an open air set of ablutions as well that looks very nice from the inside. However, the hot water from there is from a donkey, so you've got to arrange that to have hot water if you want to use those showers. The bathrooms are clean and tidy, a little bit of maintenance required, but otherwise pretty well looked after. In addition to there being no electricity at the campsites, there's also no water at the campsites. Now, there's a good reason for this. This is called Elephant Sands because there is a proliferation of elephants here. So it's important to make sure that those water sources are controlled or else it can become a dangerous situation. So there are no water taps at the campsites themselves. If you want water, you've either got to go to the ablutions or go to the restaurant area. There's a very basic wash-up facility which is relatively functional but not that great, but it gets the job done. The wash-up facility has cold water only. The campsites are demarcated by braai facilities. So if there is a braai stand, that is a campsite and you can camp either to the right or left of it. So campsites are not demarcated. The braai facilities themselves are a basic brick and concrete setup. Some of them have braai grids, most of them do not have braai grids. There are a couple of random fire pits as well. So they don't seem to be assigned to any specific campsite, but there are, I think, just 2 of them altogether. There's a couple of solar lights here, one at each side of the campsite. It's kind of split into 2 by the road that enters the campsites, and there's a light at the bathrooms as well. That is the closed bathrooms. So not much in the way of lighting. I would suggest that you have your own lighting, or if you don't, then make do without lighting. There's no shade at the campsite. There are no trees within the campsite. That's important to know because it is really very warm here. So I think you've got to be prepared for that. Fortunately, we've got our awning, so we are capable of surviving under these conditions. But it is really warm and it's quite humid now as well. So we've got a nice breeze going, but definitely no shade on the campsite of significance. So be prepared for a non-shade situation. I definitely suggest that you bring some shade with you. Although the ground is quite flat, it is slightly undulating at the smaller scale because there are clumps of grass and sand. So if you're going to put down a ground tent, for example, it may not be that comfortable. You probably would have to have a stretcher or a decent type of mattress to lie on. Now this is very sandy, Elephant Sands. It's very sandy. It isn't muddy, so it hasn't rained while we're here. I think if it does rain, you wouldn't have an issue with mud. There are no clear drainage channels on the site, which also gives me the impression that the rainwater percolates straight into the sand. So I don't think that that should be an issue. Relatively easy here because there is a restaurant and a bar, and you can get ice, you can get wood, you can get drinks, you can get your meals there as well. Note that for dinner, it's a preset buffet and you've got to order in advance so that they make enough food for you. But it's actually really easy to go there and have your meals if you don't want to cook them yourself. The restaurant and bar facilities, as well as a swimming pool, overlook the watering hole. That's a really nice place to hang out because the elephants come down to the watering hole and they're very close. You get a very close encounter with them with a bit of fencing in between for your safety. But it is a very nice setup and it's really cool to sit there and just experience those elephants around the watering hole. Note that there's no fuel on this site. The nearest place you can get fuel is Nata, so make sure that you have sufficient fuel or that you fill up in Nata before you come here. Great staff at the restaurant and bar. We certainly got our drinks very quickly as well as our food, so very happy with the service at the main area. Because the campsites are not demarcated, it's difficult to say what the size of the campsites is. Between dry places, there's sometimes 3 or 4 meters and sometimes as much as 10 meters. So it's difficult to specifically say the campsites are this particular size. The entire site is quite large and will easily fit the number of people that you'd expect per campsite given the number of campsites here. So from that point of view, it is relatively well spaced out. However, depending on which campsite you choose, you may find yourself quite close to your neighbor. The campsites are not pre-assigned. First come, first serve. You come and you choose your campsite. Obviously, you've got to book them, but you come and you choose your campsite when you get here. There are campsites overlooking the watering holes, and there are animals that go through the campsites, horses, for example, and sometimes elephants too. In fact, quite a lot of elephants. So be aware of the elephants and the horses.
Good. Whip, whip, whip. Come on. Come on. Hey, we don't have food for you. Come on.
I know food for you, buddy.
Come on. Hey, hey, hey.
All right.
Yeah, for some reason, Elephant Sands has horses.
Cell phone signal is not great here. However, there is Wi-Fi reception, and that is available from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So when I say reception, it's the reception bar restaurant area. So you can have Wi-Fi there. The Wi-Fi is free. You don't have to pay for it. You just got to log in. We are not aware of any fixed gate times. However, it is a private establishment, so I think it is quite flexible. We've seen people arrive here relatively late in the dark. I know for a fact though that the restaurant and bar close at 10 p.m. so you probably must get here before 10 p.m. of course. And like I say, because it's a private establishment, there doesn't seem to be strict gate times like you would have at a national park, for example. You can pay by credit card or by cash here, so there are credit card facilities, which does make it quite convenient. Easiest way to book is via email or via phone. Details are below as usual for your convenience, but that's the easiest way to book your campsite. And although we are campers, there are chalets on the site as well, so you can arrange a chalet. This is a conservation area and you can go on game drives. There are lots of elephants that come into the site. We've seen impala as well. However, you can arrange a game drive into the larger conservation area to see the wildlife. It's quite nice just sitting at the campsite and letting some of that wildlife come to you as well. We heard lion last night and we also heard hyena, although nobody has mentioned that, so not sure if they're on the same property, but we certainly heard them very clearly last night. Quite a few birds as well. The nature of this type of very sparse sandy woodland is that there aren't a lot of birds to see, but there is a fair amount of birding to be done also. Important thing to note, there are elephants all the time, all over the place. So they do come into the campsite, and treat them with respect. Of course, these are wild animals. I did get a mock charge, and that was a little bit scary, but it was only the one instance where that happened, and it was quickly over as well. So there are elephants coming in and out of the campsite, and there are horses, and there are birds, and there are mongooses and all kinds of little other wild creatures as well. So take note of that. All the buildings are surrounded with electrical fencing for your safety, of course, from the elephants. However, that fencing is not very well marked, so it is a bit of a hazard on its own. In addition to that, there are little concrete cones all over the place to stop the elephants from crossing into the building areas. But again, those are not very clearly marked, so that is a little bit of a human hazard as well, so just keep your eyes sharp. What type of camp is this for? Basically for almost anybody. You don't need a special type of vehicle to get here. You don't need any particular specific camping facilities or setup. Thing to note is that there's no electricity, but other than that, almost everything else is here. Of course, the lighting is quite sparse as well, but the rest of the things that you typically require as a general camper are easily available, and there's a restaurant and bar, so I think pretty much anybody can camp here. So quick recap, what is here? There is a set of ablution facilities. They have hot water and cold water, although the open air facility, you've got to arrange to have hot water there because it's a wood-fired donkey. There is water. They say it's potable. However, my experience with it is it's very brackish, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you're used to that sort of thing. There is firewood that you can purchase. There's ice that you can purchase. There's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a swimming pool. There's a great view of the watering hole. Some of the campsites have a direct view onto the watering hole as well. There are braai facilities. There's a central bin where you've got to take all your rubbish to. There's also a cleanup area that only has cold water. Oh, and by the way, you can have your laundry done at the reception too. What's not here? No shade, no electricity, no fuel. The campsites are not demarcated, and there's no shelter if it rains. There are also no taps within the campsites themselves. And no cell phone signal. However, there is Wi-Fi at the restaurant, bar, reception area. So although there is lighting, the lighting is fairly sparse and it doesn't really light up the campsite area. And then although there's a central dustbin, there aren't individual dustbins at the campsites themselves. And although there are braai facilities, only a few of them have grids, so generally there are no grids on the braai facilities. And no fire pits. Well, there is a fire pit here and a fire pit there, but there's no real fire pits per campsite. And in case it wasn't obvious, it is not fenced, so the elephants and the wildlife have access to the campsite. Would I recommend Elephant Sands campsite? Yes, it is really nice. It's been great just chilling here, relaxing, enjoying the elephants up and down, going down to the watering hole, watching the elephants up and down there as well, getting a couple of drinks in the heat of the day. It is a really nice campsite and I would definitely recommend it. I think in particular, if you're driving long distances, then it's a great stopover site as well. A lot of people that have come in here have come in for one night and then moved on to wherever they're going. So people coming from Ihaha, for example, or going to wherever it is that they're going to camp. So it's a good stopover site as well. Well, I hope you found that informative. Hit the like button if you did. Also hit the super like or buy me a coffee if you would like to support the channel. In addition to that, please definitely subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and give some feedback, give some comments. If you've got some questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be glad to get back to you guys. And remember to stay tuned for the campsite walkthrough at the end of the video. I think that will be quite helpful, but it'll be great to get some feedback from you guys. If you like it, or if you dislike it, or if you hate it, or if you love it, give a comment, give a thumbs up, give some feedback. It's always good to hear from you. And until the next episode, go everywhere, see everything, have a great time.
Yeah.